Welcome to the Sands Fitness Podcast, a place for conversations on fitness, health, and what's happening in the Sands community.
Hello and welcome to the Sands Fitness Podcast. My name is Joff, head coach here at Sands Fitness. And today we have none other than One Take Tommy. And you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, what's up? How are we?
And today we have a guest on the show. Well, we have another coach on the show to talk about his speciality, Luka Love.
Come on. Guest.
Okay, if you can see us on YouTube, hi, we're here. Okay, so as you saw probably from the title of this podcast, it's all about gymnastics and how we can get better at gymnastics. We asked in our Facebook group what you guys wanted to hear about. You gave us a few ideas and this was the one that stuck out. So the gymnastics class, we've just started to kind of promote it again and it's got a lot busier. So thought this would be a good subject to go through.
Not fat burners?
No, we're doing fat burners. Okay. Al Khalil wants to know about fat burners. Maybe we'll get him on the show. Anyway, so what we can do first then is, Luka, do you want to just give us a little bit of an idea of what gymnastics is in CrossFit and how kind of like relevant it is?
Sure. So basically what we do in CrossFit in terms of gymnastics is anything body weight. So all the push-ups, all the pull-ups, all the toes to bar that we do, rope climbs, we use rings for muscle-ups, for toes to rings, we use regular pull-up bars, we use parallettes. So anything basically that you would do body weight on either the floor, the parallettes, the pull-up bars, or the rings.
Yeah, you kind of went through all the movements there, and it's pretty common in CrossFit, the gymnastics movements, and as much as when people see CrossFit for the first time, they tend to see more of like the weightlifting side of it, I guess. They see big, heavy barbells, that kind of stuff. But Tom, how important is the gymnastics in CrossFit?
Very, very highly important. I think it's probably the one thing that can separate many, many athletes, especially at the games level or local level or wherever it is. Like everyone can seem to be able to pick up a barbell and learn a skill, and it doesn't take as long because it's flashy. So people spend more time on the barbell. Remember years ago, the games was heavy one year and then everyone was doing heavy lifting, and then all of a sudden at the regionals there was just all bodyweight movements, and it highlighted a few flaws in everyone's games. But those people who had spent the time doing gymnastics movements, literally that can make or break. If you can do a set of 50, 60, 70 unbroken butterfly pull-ups, bust out pistols, handstand walkings now in the open. So more and more we're seeing that gymnastics is kind of like, you know, if you don't have it, then you're miles behind everyone. Whereas barbell movements, everyone can seem to pick up and work on pretty easily. So gymnastics is definitely key moving forward. Yeah,
the gymnastics, we saw a lot of people getting their first pull-ups in the open, and that was kind of like a common theme, and even more advanced than that, people getting their first muscle-ups and stuff. But I guess for our members, the people that are kind of asking the question and listening to this, they want to know things like getting their first pull-up. What are the most important factors that maybe people don't think about in gymnastics in the beginning stages?
So I would say someone that can't do a pull-up, it needs to learn how to just properly retract the scaps and just use the scaps first before the arms. So everyone's arms are probably strong enough. It's the ability to use like your upper back as a whole, as opposed to the arms when you're doing a pull-up as well.
I think a lot of we've just got the crossover symmetry working again, so that we've got some equipment over there. If you haven't seen it already, it's on the back rack behind me. We've got the new bands through crossover symmetry, and it's, what is it, bulletproof in your shoulders, they call it. And so anybody that doesn't know what your scapula is, that's kind of like your shoulder blades, and anything through that movement is a crucial movement because it kind of attaches onto your shoulder. So I think I've spoken about this a few times. Like a lot of people come in from these office jobs, from driving a lot, and they're in this kind of like rounded position, and then they come into something like CrossFit and they can realize that they can do a kipping pull-up as opposed to a strict pull-up, and they kind of like put themselves through that strain where they've got those tight chest muscles, open up their chest, and they haven't kind of retracted that shoulder blade. They haven't got the strength in there yet, and that's where a lot of the shoulder injuries come from. Do you see that a lot?
Oh yeah, that's definitely number one shoulder injury in CrossFit probably, especially in pull-ups. Like someone can bust out butterfly pull-ups, just learned off YouTube how to do them, never really did any shoulder stuff, as in any shoulder health stuff. and gets injured and then just asks everyone, like, or asks himself why he's got injured, whereas it's basically just the ability to keep the shoulder pulled down as you as you sort of pull through those butterflies, that people sort of, when you get fatigued, that sort of just goes away, and that's when the injuries start to sort of appear.
Are there a lot of the injuries that you're dealing with, Tommy, when people come to see you with typical CrossFit injuries?
Yeah, definitely. It's shoulders are always a massive issue, and it is just people trying to jump the gun. I guess you could say they're trying to, they don't want to do the hard step-by-step process to get their first couple of pull-ups. They just want to go to the competitive, flashy, looks cool, I'm going to put this on my Insta account. I just busted out a set of 10 butterflies. Got it at my old gym very, very regularly. I do see it from a lot of people as well, where they come in and they just go like, yeah, I never really got strict pull-ups, but I can do kipping. Or the one that just fascinates me is I can do butterfly, but I can't kip. I think that's just crazy that they've all of a sudden just skipped over the most important part, is learning how to kip and hold good body shapes, purely just for the sake of butterfly. I know we had the rule in our gym, like you weren't allowed to do any kipping until you had 3 strict pull-ups, purely just from, and I know there's a lot of people out there that discuss like, no, it's fine to teach people how to kip. And yeah, sure, teach people how to do the kipping swing. But when it comes down to like what Luka was just saying, they miss the point of how to retract their scaps. If they just go straight into kipping pull-ups before they learn how to do strict pull-ups, then they've missed that part. If they don't know how to use their lats and their shoulder blades well enough beforehand, then they run the risk of injuring themselves very, very quickly. But that's probably the biggest thing, is that they've just got to understand that there is a progression to it. As soon as they skip one of those steps, then they run the risk of injuring themselves or missing out. And typically with pull-ups, they just have to have very realistic goals. I know if someone asks the coaches, I'm not going to lie to them and say, oh yeah, just do a couple sessions a week, you'll get it in a month. Like, it takes a while. It does take a while. And depending on what background you have as well, it could take even longer. It might take a little bit shorter, but it all depends on a lot of factors in that regard.
Yeah, I guess kind of on the same thing as well. And people don't always want to hear this, but ultimately the key to gymnastics is body awareness. So body weight is going to be a factor in that as well. So, if someone is maybe carrying a little bit of extra weight, everything's going to be, 10 times as hard as imagine wearing like a weighted vest on there. So that's obviously one of the important factors that people don't think about. But can people who are wanting to learn the gymnastics, maybe carrying a little bit of weight at the moment, but is there anything that they can do kind of building up into it?
Yeah, I mean, everyone can gain enough strength. And everyone can gain enough strength to, support the body weight. It's obviously going to take a little bit longer, because it's generally easier losing those 10 pounds than gaining enough strength to pull those 10 more pounds up on a pull-up bar, for example. But yeah, it doesn't take much. Everyone can start with some accessory stuff, just general retraction, depression of the scaps, just to feel what they're supposed to feel when they pull. And for some people, that might be the factor. Like, that might be that little thing that they're missing. They're strong enough, but they're only using their arms. Whereas when we teach them how to sort of depress the scaps and really start to use their back, it happens fast, and they get pull up really fast. That CrossFit body, like going into the open and things like that, people want to be strong. So generally being heavier means they're going to be stronger in some of the lifts, but then sacrificing being heavier is not going to help with the gymnastics as well. And I know even from my own training, if I'm a little bit heavier, things like muscle ups, pull ups, everything takes a little bit more on your body than obviously going into, the open season a little bit lighter as well. Okay. So in terms of like for our guys at the gym, then what kind of accessory work can they do, and what kind of core strength exercise can they do? Obviously, we're not going to be able to give a visual. We can kind of give a visual demonstration, but we've mentioned the crossover symmetry already. Do you want to give a little bit of an update on that, Tommy?
Yeah, crossover symmetry is definitely one of my favorite tools. It was one piece of equipment that at my old gym that was used every single day, all the time. Athletes using it, general day-to-day people using it for rehab purposes as well. And just learning how to do that first, and learning how to do the fine motor control movements first. And, that's something that isn't then going to be related to body weight. So like you were just saying, if someone does need to lose like 5 kgs to make it easier for their pull-ups, then they can easily come over and use the crossover symmetry and teach their scaps how to work properly before they even get up on a pull-up bar. So learning motor control is going to carry over a lot quicker before they even try and attempt to do some crazy stuff up on the bars. So crossover symmetry will be one thing. Just learning the position, like Luka's been saying, how to retract and depress. And it might be as simple as you jump up onto a pull-up bar and you do 10 scap pulls, 3 sets of 10 scap pulls, just to actually physically learn what that means. You don't even have to do any pull-ups. The other thing I'd say is just learn how to hold shapes. And I know Luka's doing a lot of that work in his gymnastics now. So shape control is another thing. So I'll let Luka explain a little bit more about shapes.
Yeah, the old hollow.
The old hollow. Yeah, so that's basically, so we're just about 2 sessions into our, we'll probably do 8 weeks of just straight up pulling in gymnastics classes. And the first session we did was just shapes, this hollow shape, arch shape, down on the floor, on the pull-up bar, just people to learn how it feels, how it should be, what the shape should be for a proper strict pull-up. And yeah, people were sore. We didn't really do much. Like we put scap depressions hanging off a pull-up bar in a workout. We say workout, but it was more quality work. It was 5 rounds or so they did of like 10, 15 of them, and they were sore. Like, it's amazing. And there's people that can do pull-ups in there. Yeah, shapes are very important.
Well, always when I did the gymnastics course, the CrossFit one, I haven't really got an extensive knowledge of gymnastics, but when I did that, it really opened up my eyes. And when I did it, there was actually an ex-professional gymnast on the course, and he was obviously the demonstration for everything. But I couldn't believe how like his just natural body shape was just this kind of like hollow position, almost just like his whole daily life, he's just in a hollow position anterior, where his shoulders are kind of depressed in. He's just constantly squeezing his abs, squeezing his glutes. That's his position. And it's funny because generally when someone walks into the gym here, the position that we're trying to teach them the whole time that they're in here is shoulders back, chest up, back flat. And it's kind of like goes against what you would teach in Olympic weightlifting.
Yeah, definitely. But that's just, he's a professional probably. He did that for years in his life, and that's just, it's a big part of his life, and that's the position they need to hold. It's obviously so specific to gymnastics, but, majority of people that come to our gym do CrossFit for GPP, as in general physical preparedness, and we are trying to correct their posture. Most of the people don't have, even me, like, I'm correcting myself. Like, it's for a lot of people, that's going to be a conscious effort to keep the shoulders back, keep a nice posture. But yeah, I would say keep your shoulders back. Yeah, but when we get to these gymnastics movements, that's just the proper execution of it. It's just the way it is.
Is there any exercises that they can add in maybe after what? The gymnastics classes so Sunday at 7?
Sunday 7, Monday 5, yeah.
Tuesday 5.
Oh, sorry, Tuesday. Say Monday, Tuesday.
So Sunday 7, Tuesday 5 o'clock. If someone's not able to make them, is there obviously the kind of the technical side? Is there anything that they can do maybe with some of the equipment, dumbbells, any like kettlebells or anything like that they can do, accessory work?
Easy to do. They just need to take some time. Just need 15 minutes before or after the class. Probably the easiest one to do are some sort of dumbbell rows where we bend over, row that dumbbell, obviously go as heavy as possible. For someone that's trying to get a first pull-up, we're probably going to do more, a sort of higher amount of reps, as in 8 to 12 reps, just to gain some more muscle mass, to get some more reps done. And the negatives. I would say the negatives are a very useful tool when we're learning, gaining the strength, because we can still support a lot of our body weight. Just doing the negative, we're obviously stronger doing the eccentric portion of the lift.
So that's when you start at the top of the bar.
Start at the top of the bar, yeah, chin over the bar. Even use bands with that. Like, it needs to be 3 to 5 seconds. Nice, slow, controlled descent. And even that would be very beneficial to gaining enough strength.
Bicep curls?
Bicep curls, I mean, obviously a bro sesh, no one's saying that.
Every now and again. No, that's good. So there is stuff that you can do, and obviously you can always ask one of the coaches. They can easily whip you something up after a class if you have got time and you do want to get better at your gymnastics as well. So we've kind of talked a lot about pulling there. Obviously there's another side to gymnastics, which is pushing. I guess the specialist movement in that would be kind of like the top of a muscle up, but like a handstand push-up as well. Do you want to kind of talk us through the handstand push-up, Tommy?
Yeah, so just like the pull-up, it's, you know, all these shapes are universal in gymnastics. You know, learning how to hollow, learning how to hold a good shape, and the Open definitely highlighted whether you did have a good shape in your handstand or not. Handstand push-ups for me are just a constant battle. 6 years later, always battling, but it's literally, you just have to be consistent with pressing. You know, if you press once every 2 or 3 weeks, then yeah, sure, you might be able to maintain and everything like that. But again, if you can't do a handstand push-up, just like Luka said, with the heavy dumbbell rows, sit on the floor in an L shape or sit on a box and do some heavy single arm dumbbell press. Like he said, just to build some muscle mass, just to build some strength into those key areas. And if you want to learn how to balance or walk, for me, again, it was just literally time upside down. The more time I could spend upside down, the better it got, the more time that I could spend learning how to balance. And like a lot of the time, and I definitely know the gymnastics course, they really promote spotting. And sure, if you have a mate and you guys want to come in together and work together, awesome. You guys will probably accelerate your development a lot faster. But more often than not, people come in and they want to do what they want to do. No one else really does. So spotting is not always applicable. So for pull-ups, like Luka was saying, negatives. You don't have to rely on anyone to kind of spot you. Bands, under the gymnastics course, they don't really talk about bands at all. They say don't do it. I'm more of a person to think about not dealing in absolutes. There's no perfect way to do something. There's no wrong way to do something. Bands might work well for someone, while bands might not work for another person, depending on how good they are transferring that over. So with a handstand push-up, for example, if you don't have anyone to spot you, I know something that I used to do for handstand walking was set up a band or set up a bar in between a pull-up rig and try and balance my feet just upside down, just to learn how to stabilize on my hands. And that's something for me that really helped. So if there are always tricks, and like you guys keep saying, just come and ask us and we'll literally give you something to work on for 5 minutes, and you do that consistently and you'll surpass everyone very quickly.
Yeah, something that I program for like quite a lot of the level ups that I do if they want handstand push-ups is just practicing that top position, gaining strength in the overhead position. So just to batter, so 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, handstand hold. Negatives, again, you can do in the handstand push-up. But then we've got, I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning, but Joseph, one of our members here, he wasn't that was a big shout out then. Shout out Joseph, I hope you're watching. He wasn't that confident going upside down, and that's obviously a big thing to begin with. We go upside down as kids and it's easy. As soon as we get to adult, going upside down is just totally alien to us. And even when I started, I think we were talking about this not long ago, when I first started CrossFit and I saw on YouTube someone do a handstand push-up, I went down to the gym that I was training at, like a bodybuilding gym, just fancied it because I'm fairly athletic, and just fell on my head and everybody laughed at me. And it took me maybe, 10 or 11 sessions just going into a room by myself to just get into a headstand and just having that confidence of kicking up against the wall before I even started thinking about trying to push out of that. So just going down and improving your confidence, now like the more I've developed, and like Tom said, the more time you spend upside down, the better you're going to get. I never would imagine I can walk on my hands and do all these fancy stuff as well. So again, like we can give you some drills for getting your confidence. Have you got any drills that you can give out? Getting confidence going upside down?
Surely start with something that you're comfortable doing. If that's a bear crawl, try and put as much pressure through your arms. If that's just getting your feet on the box, getting upside down slightly and just feeling how it is. Because a lot of people will get upside down, but then when you give them like a command, as in lower your left leg, they have no coordination as on how to do it. It's like everything goes upside down. There's blood rushing through their head. They can't, it's normal to experience that, but that's something that people can easily work on. Maybe go kick up, if you're comfortable enough, kick up into a sort of headstand, and then give yourself an order. Okay, I'm going to squeeze my abs, I'm going to round my back. That helped me. I used to do loads of that. I was sort of, I guess, fortunate enough to do a lot of that stuff when I was playing tennis when I was a kid. So getting upside down wasn't a problem for me. But gaining that coordination is a bit specific. This handstand push-ups is such a CrossFit-y thing to do. Obviously, falling down on the head is not an option. So you need to know how to control, you need to have enough strength. And before that, I would just kick up and just like lean on the wall somehow, and just order myself to lower my left leg, bend my knee, round my back, extend, like just feel my scaps, feel where I am, feel like how that feels when I'm upside down, and then just move on from there. So if that means just kicking up into either it's just a handstand support by the wall or even a headstand, and just trying to feel the positions, see how you react to, ordering yourself what to do, and how that feels, and just go on from there.
Okay, I've got a good question for either of you to answer then. This probably is maybe some of our athletes in the gym already. What are the prerequisites for someone walks into the gym, I want to ring muscle up or a bar muscle up, whichever you want to talk about? What are kind of like the prerequisites? Because some people just presume that because they can do a pull up that they can do a muscle up. And yeah, do you want to talk on that? What are the prerequisites in terms of getting to those movements? What should they be able to do before they start thinking of a ring muscle up, a bar muscle up?
Probably just from seeing people over the years and what they can do. I know there's obviously like outliers either end. Like I've seen some people in the open who couldn't do a chest to bar and then somehow managed to do a bar muscle up.
Yeah, I've seen that.
The person I'm thinking of, they were like 16 years old, just, full of beans, and all of a sudden just ripped themselves over the top. I was like, but then
overly mobile.
Yeah, just like did the crazy chicken
like
wing over the
chest
top.
on the bar.
But if you want to do it properly and learn how to do it properly, I always say you need a chest to bar is not enough. I don't think, because when people do chest to bars for the first time, they tend to be underneath the pull-up bar and not behind the pull-up bar. So they're kind of like really getting into that arched position, just sticking their chest out, just making it, and they're kind of more underneath the pull-up bar as opposed to in their hollow shape, touching more of their bottom of their ribs. So I would say if you've got kind of 3 good chest to bar pull-ups where you're nearly making contact with your ribs, then you should have the pulling strength to be able to do it. And then for a bar muscle up, if you've got the pulling strength, then you should be able to get over the top of the bar easy. For a ring muscle up, then obviously you do need to have a ring dip, but a full deep get down as low as you can, because no one on their very first muscle up is going to catch at the top of their support position.
Yeah, I've seen it. People who have got really good pulling strength, and they're like, "Oh, I'll try ring muscle up." I'm like, "Can you do a ring dip?" And they're like, "I've never tried one." And that's got to be a high risk injury through CrossFit, people trying that.
Yeah, the position that shoulder gets in, if you haven't been there a lot, especially on an unstable surface like the rings, then you run the risk of doing some serious damage to your shoulders. So that's kind of what I would suggest for the ring dip side of things. It needs to be full, proper, deep, couldn't possibly go any lower, and you just learn how to stabilize in that position as well, because if you can't transition through that position, then you're never going to dip out of it in the first place. So I would say those ones as some basic kind of key points.
Let's make it a little bit more basic than that then. So same question, the prerequisites for someone who's come in and they fancy they can get some kipping pull-ups. In an ideal world, strict pull-ups first, how many? Or if at all?
I would say at least 5. At least 5. There's loads of discussions on how many people should do. There's no it's more of, can you hold a shape? Can you hold a hollow position through the pull-up? Rather than just busting out those, bodybuilding sort of 5 bro reps. It has a lot to do with the shapes, because people don't realize you get into the shape. Like the movement forces you into certain shapes, and if you can't hold that, if you're not conscious of that, it's going to be really hard to do it. But I'd say at least 5 pull-ups. Okay, is the minimum.
That's good to know then. All right, so Luka, for anybody coming to your gymnastics class, then we spoke about this a little bit about weightlifting being the star thing. Gymnastics, the return on investment, is it a quick one or is it a slow one, or how long should someone be looking to kind of go through a cycle?
Yeah, that just depends on how good you are at the moment, or what level you are at the moment. Because there's loads of people that just want to come and learn. It's strong enough, they can bust out strict pull-ups, but They struggle to learn how to kip, struggle to learn how to use their hips. So obviously something like that is going to take much less time, because it's basically just coordination. It's basically just realizing what to use, how to pop their hips up, as opposed to gaining strength. Like it's very comparable. It's very similar to someone having a goal of a 200 kilo back squat and he can squat 150 now. Like it's not going to be a month, you're going to probably have to run multiple strength cycles to get that. A 200 kilo squat, like it's the same thing as when someone comes to gymnastics class and can't really do a kipping pull-up and has a goal of doing a muscle-up. Like that. It's comparable. Yeah, it's a lot of work. 1%ers. Yeah, a lot. It comes naturally to some people, but yeah, it's the more advanced that you want to get and the more basic that you're at the moment, the longer it's obviously going to take. Someone that can squat 100 kilos is going to take him, a year, well, multiple years to squat 200. It's the same thing with gymnastics. Someone without a strict pull-up is going to take him months, if not even years, to get that, like, enough strength to attempt a muscle up. It's just a bit less sort of enjoyable, the training itself, because it's failing rather than still squatting very, very close weight to your goal weight. For example, you can squat 190 a couple of times. It's very close to 200, whereas you can either do a muscle up or you don't. It's just it's one of those things that are just a bit demoralizing. But once you get that first rep, like, it gives you such a drive for everything then on.
Yeah, like it's so good when you see someone in here. Like, I've been coaching for a long time, and still now when you see someone get like a muscle up in particular on the rings for the first time, it's amazing. Like how they're feeling, like you watching them, they put in the work, they're practicing it. But then, like one of the factors that comes into it is someone willing to put in the effort? Is someone willing to keep coming back and putting the same drills in to get there? Or are they just kind of looking for that shortcut? And I've seen it both ways. I've seen people taking shortcuts and eventually getting it, but probably like 2 years after when they should have got it, versus someone who's just started learning the basics and just started getting into it.
Yeah, I remember it was years ago when I was just getting into CrossFit. I didn't even sign up for the Open that year. It was so new to me. I think it was just past the Open where I could do a muscle up. I think I was even stringing like 2 together. Obviously very bad reps to look at, probably, retrospective looking. And then there was the Open workout. I don't know which one it was. Tell me a little more about the numbers. But it was Karen, so 150 wall balls, followed by 90 double unders, followed by...
Name it.
Yeah.
12 point, far out. That was 12.3, pretty sure. 12.3?
Okay.
Good. I'll check that.
Followed by like 20 muscle ups or something?
No, 90 double unders. So it's 150 wall balls, 90 double unders, and 30 muscle ups. AMRAP 12. 30 muscle ups, yeah. AMRAP. So I remember, I was in a good shape enough. To knock out those 150 wall balls. The double unders weren't a problem at that time. So I would get through like both of those movements in about 7 minutes, and then the 5 minutes after staring at the rings, although I could do a muscle up. So that's another thing. It's like people trying muscle ups and those movements like post workout, like you fatigued, you're less likely to do a muscle up or something that advanced post a workout. So if you want to try, if you're that close, warm up well, do it before the workout. You're gonna have much more chance to succeed.
Like you see it, people getting like a muscle up for the first time. Oh, he's off. People getting muscle ups for like the first time. Like just practice it on their own, and then they go to do it in a workout. They get their first muscle up. They're like, right, that's it. I'm going to do Nate 2 muscle ups, 4 handstand push ups, 8 kettlebell swings, and then they just can't do a muscle up. They just totally overshot it. I don't think you can claim a muscle up until you've done it in a workout like Nate.
Yeah, with other movements and stuff, of course.
Yeah, but all right. Well, any other things on the gymnastics that you can think of that we haven't gone through? We've kind of given a basic description of some stuff. I think the general consensus is get to the gymnastics class, and if you can't, what can someone do if they can't come to the gymnastics?
So I always write the workout on the board. You can always come to me or to any of the other coaches, and we'll at least give you what has been done in the sessions. But I would say there's loads of people that come and ask, oh, what can I do? What can I do? And it's basically just try and mimic the movement that you would do, but in a way that it's a little bit easier, that is doable to do, like through the whole range of motion. So like we were saying, handstand push-ups, do negatives, like do press, sit down on the floor and press overhead, try and mimic the movement. Of scaling it out to a point where you can just successfully perform a couple of reps. And I would say, whatever you do, 4 rounds of 8 to 12 reps for the start. That's going to be probably enough to...
I just randomly thought about it then. I should have talked about it before, but grip strength is a big thing as well, isn't it, in pull-ups?
Oh, yeah. But it's like... As long as you're hanging off of a pull-up bar, doing accessory stuff, you're going to gain enough grip strength for that pull-up. It's only then when you start busting out like tens of pull-ups that it eventually comes down to your grip strength.
Yeah.
And anything basic will give you exercises. They're simple to do. It's not rocket science, the accessory stuff. Will give you stuff to do. It just needs to be done. People just think they're going to do it a couple of times and magically get a pull-up, magically, get in a certain shape. It's not. Work needs to be put in. Yeah.
All right, awesome. You want to add anything to that one take? You have some like Nazi rep opinion on it?
Yeah, probably. Definitely. Like gymnastics it's a long road, and at my old gym, I used to run the gymnastics program that we did, and put a theme all the time as to we're going to work on this month, we're going to work on this, and the people who were able to get their movements were the ones who just kept showing up. Like they just said, "Yep, I'll do that. Yep, I'll do that." So literally, you just gotta. It's kind of like a character check. If you really want it, if you really, really want a muscle up, if you really, really want a handstand push up, then you'll work for it. You'll do whatever it takes to work for it. And if it doesn't mean that much to you, then you won't do it. It's as simple as that. Like if you don't come, it means you don't want it badly enough. You want it, you kind of want it. Like it'd be nice to get it. It would look cool if I could get it. But I don't really want to put in the work. So that's literally all I would say to everyone. If you want it badly enough, you'll come see Luka 2 nights a week. You'll put in the work, and you'll be very surprised after 8 weeks just about how much more strength you've built in your pulling. But I guess now is probably a good time to do it as well, given the performance programming is more strength-based. So, rather than being someone that does the strength program and then decides that they want a little bit more cardio, a little bit more of a sweat and go and do the fitness class, like we don't really condone that at all, because that's not how the program's run. But something like the gymnastics class, maybe before or after, might be. Yeah, go do the weightlifting class, go to the gymnastics class, because like everyone should know by now, we're basing the program around squatting twice a week, deadlifting once, pressing once. With the presses, obviously we need to counterbalance our shoulders by doing pulling. So go and see Luka and pull twice a week, and hopefully that's going to then really balance you guys out. Perfect time to go and do gymnastics. But talking about doing the fitness class, I think that's another podcast before we get too many people.
No, we won't go into that. But anyway, I think we're rounded up there. How long was that? 30 minutes? Something like that?
Yeah, good 30. I had to reset
Needed the microphone for that. All right, guys. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you for the input on Facebook. We'll do another one in 2 weeks, and if you have any questions for us, make sure you come and ask us and give us some feedback on the podcast. It's always nice to hear a bit of feedback. We take a bit of time to do this, but it's been good fun.
Sweet. Cheers for having us. Cheers for having us.
Thanks for having our guest. Thanks for
guest. Our guest, Luka Love. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Sands Fitness Podcast. Join us next time for more talk about all your health and fitness questions. And follow us on Facebook and Instagram for all the latest from the Sands community.